Hi folks, James here, and welcome to the Spyro Circle, this time in collaboration with Forbes Israel. This week I spoke to Amir Fishelov, the co-founder and managing partner at Square One Labs. Amir originally was one of the co-founders of SolarEdge. He was one of 5 co-founders that got together after their army service in Unit 81 and wanted to solve a problem. They didn't know what the problem was, but they knew they wanted to work together. Anyway, fast forward a couple of years and SolarEdge became one of the biggest companies to come out of Israel. So what Amir is doing today is he's trying to give back to some of those young early founders. He co-founded Square One Labs as a way to invest in deep tech companies. That's anything from infrastructure, AI, semiconductors, and robotics. We spoke about Amir's upbringing and what led him to the army, and then startups, and then investing. And we also spoke a bit about what it means to invest in deep tech as an industry and a sector. I hope you enjoy. Amir.
How are you doing, James?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Very good, very good.
Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
I have a lot that I want to discuss with you because I want to hear, or I want you to share, your journey, some of your background, and what you are doing today. You were on the founder side of things, and now you're on the investor side of things.
Exactly.
Obviously, you have a big history. Why don't we start by outlining a bit about what that story looks like for those who may not be familiar?
Yeah, sure. So today I'm managing partner at Square One Labs, where we build and invest in companies in physical infrastructure for AI, which basically means energy, semiconductors, and robotics. So we launched that early 24, formally launched it just a few months ago. And and before that, I was actually one of SolarEdge co-founders. And before that, just on the personal level, I grew up in Tel Aviv. My mother is a professor of mathematics. My father is also in computer science. And guess what? Like I was a kid playing soccer and basketball, and I found myself at the age of 16 actually starting a bachelor's degree in computer science.
Wow.
In the Open University. So did that in parallel to my high school, and eventually finished that at the age of 19 and got drafted to Unit 81, which is one of the tech units in the Israeli Intelligence Corps. Been there for 6 years, co-founded SolarEdge 2006, and here I am today.
Wow. It's quite a story with quite a few significant milestones along the way. Tell us a bit about SolarEdge and the journey there, because you were one of 5 co-founders, which is not typical.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we started 5 co-founders. We all basically met at the same unit. And we worked together for years on different projects. We started projects together, finalized them. We got the Israeli Defense Award on one of them. And it was, not just a super significant time for all of us. It was a very fruitful one in terms of really generating valuable projects. So through that experience, we really got to know each other, and we understood we just want to start something together, all the 5 of us. For us, it was relatively a no-brainer. It's a lot of founders. It's 5 founders. But it was a no-brainer because we understood that each one can add a different element to the puzzle, and we always believed we can build a great company, and the basis is just the people. It's just a team that we start with.
It's like the Avengers.
Exactly.
You assembled.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to talk a bit about, because you had that experience, and now you're on the other side of things because you have you have that career and that side of things behind you. Is there a common thread or theme that you've seen carry between, as you said, your high school experience, then your army service, then your startup life, and now your investor life? So is there anything that strings that together?
Yeah, I'll say, personally, I always challenge myself. Okay, I never go through the same path. I'm always looking how to reinvent myself. I did that. On through the high school and the bachelor's degree, I was challenged. I basically did not complete my my five points degree in mathematics, and I had to start with university. I didn't know the material. So I had to challenge myself, and really on the first semester, it was so difficult. I mean, I was like learning material that I should have learned just 3 years later, and I'm learning that at the age of 16. And let's see what happens with that. So that was like the first challenge. The second one, looking at my service in the unit, basically I learned computer science. And I got drafted to a unit which does multidisciplinary projects. So going through hardware, software, mechanics, whatever RF systems. I started with low-level embedding software, which is not anything that I actually did before. And then I think just like 1 year later, the head of this of the group that I was in just told me, you see, there's this project that we need to finalize now, and please go to the RF lab and make sure this project works. We need to get it out like in 6 months. And I was saying, okay, that's interesting. I don't know what's RF basically. So I had to learn everything from scratch. And these are just like two examples. And that goes all the way through SolarEdge. I mean, eventually, leading a large group of engineers, like hundreds of people in SolarEdge, how, leading projects with companies like Tesla and LG. I mean, super interesting stuff, which basically was always the first time into these kind of things. And venture capital was the same. I mean, I got like asked by somebody, I mean, don't you think, maybe it's smarter to be in the industry before and look really have it hands-on? And I told them I was not a VC before, but I got through the experience of investing in my past 6 years, okay, through SolarEdge. Personally, I did some investments, also a chairman of a company called Kapow. So I figured out I have enough experience in terms of how to invest. Now let's turn that into a business.
And you did, Square One Labs.
Exactly.
So you turned that in, you started fairly recently, 2024?
So we launched, our first idea about Square One Labs actually evolved in early 24. So we started fundraising on that. We did the first close in September 25. And we're already progressing with 3 companies.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about what you guys are focused on, because you're in the deep tech infrastructure space. Tell me a bit about why you chose that space as one to focus on, and maybe some of the skills that you took or lessons that you took from your startup days into the investment space.
Yeah. So there are 2 reasons we started Square One Labs. First one is on the market side. Okay, looking into AI, we figured out there's lots of opportunity on the software space, but there's a huge opportunity on the actual infrastructure for AI. I mean, looking at energy, semiconductors, physical hardware for robotics, all this basic software layers. All of these are critical infrastructure that any solution for AI needs. And it doesn't matter if Google will win quote unquote the race, or OpenAI, whatever. They all need the same infrastructure. And we just came from these worlds. I mean, energy is of course. I mean, that's our bread and butter. But we also saw what happens in manufacturing. Okay, so we know what it takes to build up robotic lines. Okay, we also did semiconductors at SolarEdge at large scale. I mean, we sold more than 200 million units of our own semiconductors. So we got to know all these adjacent markets, and we figured out. I mean, there's just an enormous business opportunity over there. And then the second one is just we got approached by founders and entrepreneurs which really want to start companies, and they're saying, I mean, I'm looking for a very I would say dramatic or big business problem to solve. Can you help me out with that? And we just got, it was just random. Okay, so we got approached by these entrepreneurs. We helped them just on a personal basis, but then we figured out, okay, this is an opportunity really to build something big, because the demand from the entrepreneurs is already there. And I'm talking just at the early days of the AI hype or AI, growth.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's really exploding.
And so what did you take? Are there any mistakes that you made that you avoided, or any lessons you learned along the way? Like, what's this generation of founders? What are they looking? What obstacles are in their way, and what are they looking at
Yeah.
compared to what folks were doing.
So
how's that different?
So our main focus are deep tech companies. I think the basis is, deep tech companies were hard 20 years ago. They're still hard today. It's a mix. You need to really build a new kind of playbook to build deep tech companies. It always starts with a team, and that's always the basis. But above that, you need to combine the tech skill set of the team with a solution that can actually fit the market. Because usually when you're talking about deep tech, that means that the founders have a very unique experience or expertise in something. And you need to match those expertise really to a major business problem that they're solving. So it's not just ideating on the business side and solving a major business problem. You also need to match that to the skill set of the entrepreneurs, which makes the process more challenging, and it's also harder to pivot in deep tech. So the accuracy, I would say, pinpointing the idea early on is very important, because basically the underlying impact of not hitting a target fast, that can cost the company 3 to 4 years in terms of capital and runway, et cetera. So you really want to be spot on early on. And this is what we did when we started SolarEdge. So we started really the same process. We just started 5 members, and we ideated for 9 months on different ideas, from defense to health tech to other spaces. And eventually it took us 9 months to reach the SolarEdge idea, and then additional 9 months to actually fundraise on that, which is a significant time. Those days it was hard to fundraise for a company like SolarEdge, which did not just hardware but also a complete system. That was highly uncommon in the Israeli ecosystem. I think today, in terms of the ecosystem and VC landscape, that is matured. But I think the good lesson from that is take the time and think out where you're going in terms of the business problem. Think out where you're going in terms of the solution that solves it. Make sure you have a full team. Once you have that, go raise like a significant capital from the market. And then, your chances to succeed are just much higher. And spare the time initially. It's much more valuable than running fast and not going the correct direction.
Yeah, you don't want to have to run backwards.
Exactly.
Tail between the legs.
Exactly.
You write relatively small checks, you write early stage areas. So you're working with, I assume, young founders, at least professionally young, maybe.
Yeah.
Unless it's their second company. What are some of the traits that you identify in them? Do you see a spark of brilliance or coachability, or what are some of the things that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think great founders are a mix. They come with. First of all, it's a team. It's not just
Right.
one founder. It's a mix. From the CEO, it's usually somebody that has like a longer term vision, knows how to execute, knows how to take people behind him. That's super important. And coachability is I think it's always a must, because these are very complex companies. Any startup, by the way, is complex, and you have to listen. You need to take your own decisions at the end of the day. You're the CEO, you're on the wheel, you're driving the company, but you need to listen and get the correct advice and take it, and based on that, take the best decision. And in any space, we're talking energy, semiconductors, robotics, all these spaces are, they're relatively complex spaces to penetrate into, and you have to learn and understand not just the technology, also the markets.
I want to stick on that, because since we spoke, a bit before this recording,
Yeah.
but since we spoke, I managed to dive a bit deeper into AI infrastructure, deep tech, and
Okay.
I was kind of learning. I often say that I have a very shallow but wide net. So I know a little bit about lots of things, but I don't go deep in much.
Yeah.
So I was going deep into deep tech, so to speak. And I was diving into the infrastructure there, and I was diving into Israel's, basically kind of the country's national efforts to create its own independence on AI infrastructure. Does that fit into what you guys are doing, or?
That's a great. That's exactly. I mean, we're highly aligned on the country's infrastructure. I mean, looking into energy, that was super highlighted now in the last 2 years of the war. I mean, energy is a critical infrastructure both for the civilians and also in combat. So similar solutions can come out from the army and from the tech units and go back into the civilian world. That's a great example. Robotics, the amount of robotic solutions used today in the combat field is enormous, from drones to ground robots, etc., etc. All these kind of swarm technologies, all these kind of technologies are now being shifted to the civilian world as well. So that's, I mean, those are great examples. And I think I think what we figured out, it's exactly the same talent coming out of the defense industry and converted to these spaces.
Yeah, well, the defense is interesting because it's had renewed attention since the war.
Yes.
And it's dual use. So it's one of those, you as you said, you create it for one area, but then it ends up being used on a consumer level eventually down the road. Like I think the microwave was invented by the US military.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
But just goes an example of how those things trickle down.
It makes sense.
GPS being an army tool.
Yes.
So you have those happening. Does the AI era change the mechanics of that and on how a military creates or designs or deals with those kinds of materials? Because when you were doing Solar Edge, you were in the energy space, but maybe it was a generation before. I mean, technically, no, I don't want to age you, but it was like a different time, right? It was
I'm 45. I'm in the middle.
No, if you know what I mean. Yeah. It was like a different.
No. For sure. The world. Was a different, no. The world is changing. I would say AI is affecting every aspect of our life. I mean, from personal to work life. In terms of deep tech companies, it's affecting them. I mean, it's positively affecting them, and it's also generating new opportunities. On the development side, because a deep tech company is a very broad company. I mean, you do sometimes not just a very specific piece of hardware. You can do like a full system. So AI can help you just understand much broader range of topics that, I mean, maybe it would take months and even more actually to get into them. So you can get faster into speed every new topic you're looking into. In terms of opportunities, there's lots of opportunities in AI and combining that with deep tech stuff. Just for example, material discovery. Okay, that's one topic. Okay, maybe another topic can be how AI software actually helps development of energy solutions. Okay, by simulations, for example, and really accelerating processes that could take months or maybe more and shrink that down into weeks. So that's how AI can also generate opportunities for new companies and also help you in the day-to-day work. But still, the basic moat of these deep tech companies are very, I mean, the moat is very high. And once they penetrate into the market, if you're able to penetrate into the market and you have a differentiated solution, which, I mean, solves a significant business issue, then as opposed to software companies, you can be in the game for the long run. You guided me perfectly into my next point, which was talking about the moat and talking about some of those aspects. What can you tell me about it? Can we just double click on it? What can you tell me about the space of it? The state of it today in terms of tech, in terms of market? Like what are we looking at? Yeah. So I mean, we're always looking into some kind of technical moat. I mean, because we believe that especially in the world today, that's significant to really sustain a company for years and really come into the market and sell into the market and be competitive with the market, because the market is always super competitive and you need to come up with solutions that are both differentiated and cost effective. It's like the other way around. I mean, how can you be both differentiated and cost effective? But that's where the magic happens. Because many of the times, let's take into account energy. Okay, you're trying to generate a new kind of solution that generates energy, and now you're competing with gas solutions, oil solutions, whatever, which were built here for the past 100 plus years. But now you need to build a new solution which is more cost competitive than that. and also green, and also, so that's where the magic happens. If you build a solution which is substantially better and cost effective, you can build a great company. And we're looking for these kind of solutions to combine with the team that can really solve a major pain point. I mean, just for example, I'll give you one example. We invested in a company that is doing geothermal energy. They came up with a very interesting solution how to drill much more efficiently to hotter rocks down beneath us. And based on this technology that they're now developing, I mean, they can really produce cheaper energy, green energy, and availably 24/7 energy. So these kind of concepts, and by the way, that's also a good example of how that connects to the defense. Okay, I mean, these are, I would say, ideas coming and similar capabilities coming from our defense forces and applying that to a commercial company.
So when you look at investing in deep tech spaces, is there something we've outlined a bunch of different things now, the moat and the industries and the markets and the tech. Is there anything specifically different in how you invest in a deep tech versus any other industry?
Yes, especially at early stages. So it's once again, it's all about the team, but then there's the technology, and technology is something, especially at early stages, you need to evaluate or sign off the technology, which is a complex part to do because everything is still. I mean, sometimes it's a presentation, sometimes it's a very initial simulation of proof of concept. So how do you validate that? So first of all, we're four partners. Sorry, on the team. 5 is SolarEdge.
I was going to say,
now we're 4.
I was going to say, that's a nice coincidence.
Now we're 4. And we all come from a tech background, but we also understand the business side. So we all know how to evaluate deep technologies. Of course, we also use like third parties, researchers, wherever we need, but we have the capabilities to drill down into technologies and do a very thorough due diligence process, eventually to estimate if we think it can actually work in large scale and be cost effective. We can never, we are venture capital. This is not 100%. We will take risks, and that is fine. But we do a thorough process on the technology to make sure that this can also scale up and be actually implemented in real life. And the other part of that is how we're structured. Okay, we have a dual structure where we can put a small check initially that can help us validate with the team the technology and the business use case, and then once we mature that phase, we can put a bigger check into, like, I would say, like a seed round, so-called, and really scale up with the company. But at that point we have more confidence of the team, the technology, and the business use case. Okay, and that's like our de-risking process. We have this build process, which actually de-risks the first seed investment.
Let's talk more a bit about the team, because we've been focused on the tech a lot and about the infrastructure and the ecosystem. But let's talk about the team itself. So you came from a big team. You're one of 5. You're now one of 4. You look for other teams. Do you look for the same equally sized large teams, or I'm assuming not, but something that we spoke about was you said founders were like, or co-founders, it was like entering into a marriage.
Yes.
Which is something, I've heard it before.
Yeah.
It's like, it's as intense, it can be as risky, it can be as profound.
Yeah.
What do you see among some of the young founders about how they choose to enter into those metaphorical marriages?
Yeah.
And are there any red flags that you have learned along the way?
So I would say, of course, like an organic team is always the best, because just they have enough time together in hard situations. I mean, if they really did projects or companies together, they went through the cycles. Every startup is a roller coaster. I mean, you go through the highs and the lows, and if you survive the lows, you get stronger together. So that's always the best, but it's not always the case. I mean, sometimes teams form and that's fine as well. But you need to look into the dynamics of the team, and this is something we look into thoroughly, because this is very important. If both of the if there are two, let's say, just take an example, two founders, they're both great founders, but they don't work together, the company is gonna end up unsuccessfully. So, and that's, I would say, the second reason after not having enough capital is companies fail due to team forming. So so that's something we're looking into, the not just everyone as a personal, but the team dynamics. And once again, once we do this build process with the teams, we have enough time with the team really to see this evolving and see how the team dynamics work together. And in terms of the number of founders, like, I think for deep tech companies, 2 is the minimum. It's I think for many companies, just being a single founder is difficult. Deep tech is always more difficult just because you're spanned among more disciplines. Okay, you have manufacturing, you have hardware, you have software, you have and all the regular stuff, fundraising, sales, marketing, etc., etc.
Big picture, small picture kind of thing as well.
Yeah, and like you have certification, so you have so many topics in the process. So having a broader team is an advantage, but they have to really work together, and this marriage needs to work together. So, I mean, we're not looking for 5 founders team. That's unrealistically, or I would say that's not the most cases. But if the team comes and they come with a bigger team, and it makes sense that this team is working together for a significant time, then yeah, that makes sense, and the dynamics are good.
Do they typically come from the army?
So I mean, we're open to. I mean any
like the couple. I mean the couples.
Yeah.
The founders who meet,
Yeah.
like you guys, right, or you folks. It's such an incubator, the army.
Yeah.
The idea. It's such a. I've spoken to hundreds of founders who
Yes.
meet their co-founders in
Yeah.
their unit or in that time. Is that something you're seeing, or could they just be from anywhere?
So I would say, deep tech companies, I would say, like, looking at the profiles of the founders, it's slightly different than the software ones. I mean, usually founders which are more mature in age, just because usually you run on a longer timeline. I mean, that's deep tech. I mean, it sometimes can take 3 to 4 years just to get to initial sales, especially, compare that to AI, that's a significant longer time. So usually we see founders, which I would say, like, the minimum are over 30, anywhere between like 30 plus. That's like the minimum age we see, and they can come out of one of the tech units, but they can, we invested now in a team which it's their second company, and they came out of the industry, which is, that's completely fine. I'm also, I'm chairman of Kappa, which is a team coming out of the university in Ben Gurion. So, it can be everything.
Do you matchmake founders? Are you like a matchmaker?
So, we will introduce founders, but at the end of the day, they need to, we can help. We can help the matchmaking process, but it's their own, it's their own ride and their own experience to get this right. We would not try to push 2 founders to really match together. We will help. We will do as much as we can, but they need to mix up, because it's a long journey, and they need to go through this process by themselves.
So, as Square One Labs, what's your relationship with the company once you invest and once you're there? What's your role going forward? Do you guide? Do you let them go off and enter into the marriage, into the honeymoon phase? So continue the metaphor.
So I would say our logic from day zero is we help the team. They lead and we help the team wherever they need. Okay, so if you're starting from the ideation phase, we will help them connect to market problems. We will help them connect to interesting technologies that we see in the universities. Okay, we will help them connect to our partners, which can convey and express different business pain points. But they're leading the process. We're just supporting. But I think it's super important. But we're just supporting them in the process through that. Starting with the ideation phase and then starting with their first significant seed round. Once we go into the seed round, we usually invest in the company. I would say anywhere between $2 to $3 million initially, and then take. I mean, depending on the size of the round, but being on the board of the company and being helpful for the team from the first round up until hopefully the M&A, IPO, or whatever comes through the process, because I think we can be helpful just because we went through the process. I mean, we saw what it takes starting from a team of 5, scaling up to 6,000 employees, going up to $4 billion sales, manufacturing worldwide from China, Israel, Europe to the US, and just seeing this process and getting in touch with all the stakeholders that are involved in this process is super insightful. And there's just a handful of companies in Israel that actually made this process. So we believe we can be helpful really from day zero, combining the technology and product market fit with the business, but also scaling up the business, sales, operations, whatever is needed. And we can bring on, our experience and people that worked with us for years and can be super helpful.
And I guess as well, you also have the relationship to the next stage, right? You have relationship to other investors at later stage
Yes.
or growth stage, and stakeholders. Like you said, you have the network that
Yeah.
you can help facilitate. So talk to me a bit about, and these are still early days, but
Yeah.
talk to me about how it may look in your mind going forward. So the company you invested in, and future ones.
Yeah.
How's that looking?
Yeah. So I think, we'll also help to connect to other VCs as the company grows. And we'll also help connect them to the business if we can be helpful. If we can be helpful on that. And we're always looking at how the company eventually matures. What's going to be the exit strategy for the company? It's super critical how you build a company. It's one company if you build it for an IPO. It can be a different company if you build it for M&A. So this is something we're looking at really initially, and there's not always a clear answer for that initially.
Do founders know sorry to interrupt you, do they know what they're looking for as an exit for their company?
So we always ask them. Okay,
Yeah.
we always ask them. What's your purpose here? Why are you going into this journey? It can be super rewarding, but it's a complex journey. Why you're entering this?
Yeah.
So some know. Some, I think we see that it evolves as the company grows and the team matures, and you see that the opportunities may be bigger than we initially thought. So that I think I found these processes super interesting. And see how the founders evolve into that process. And we came from the school that said, we're going to build an Israeli company when we started. That's how we started SolarEdge. We understood this is a company that can go for IPO. And that's how we built it initially. So I'll give some examples. For example, the headquarters of the company was always based in Israel. We never moved. We had offices in Germany, in the US, Japan, whatever, but that was always, local offices. So that's the method that we grew up the sales and service and support of the company. And we never thought of actually moving the headquarters because maybe just on a specific year, maybe we could nail down more sales in the US if we would move there. But if you really want to build a big company that can accelerate the sales and go global, you have to build local offices that know how to sell locally. This is like just one example. But SolarEdge is one case. Other companies can be different, which is perfectly fine. But then I think we work with the team and see how they envision the company. And this is something we always look together with the team and build the company correctly. And I'll give another example. Just on the valuation side. Okay. This is always a topic that is discussed. Looking into how you build correctly the value of the company. If you're looking for long-term companies, you need to build it correctly. And sometimes it may be, it may look good, to bump up the valuation, but maybe it's not good for the long term. So you need to be cautious and just take all these considerations into account because these are like, I mean, these are companies that actually sell a product, want to be profitable, and want to build up really, really huge things globally. So looking at how they're built, this is something that it seems like initially, less of a topic, but if you look from the end, going backwards, it's super significant.
I heard that a lot in the 21-22 cycle.
Yeah.
Where it was like these like 10 million, 15 million seeds, whatever, it was like the money was massive and the valuations were massive, and it was just growing. And then it was kind of like companies had to realize that when they received money, they had to spend that money.
Yeah.
They couldn't just sit on it and enjoy the valuation or enjoy the funding. They had to show signs of growth, and then a lot of them didn't or couldn't, or it's a stumble. Sometimes it's better to take the smaller funding early and then pace yourself.
Yeah, I mean that's a great example. I mean this is how we like build our build process, which we do the ideation process with the founders. We're talking about like hundreds of thousands of dollars for this phase, because we believe this is what's needed. I mean, you don't need $3 million to do ideation. Okay. I mean, if you're talking about like a salary for the founders, having meeting with customers and maybe flying abroad, this can be, like a few thousand, hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is sufficient for that. And I think you also build better DNA of companies when they actually, I mean, always take money when it's possible. I mean, cash is the number one deficit of startups, but be smart on it. And take and really maybe use. I think the more important part is actually use the amount of cash that you actually need. Sometimes what happens when you have more cash in the bank, you just spend it out, and then eventually you do not really run faster or sell faster or progress faster than you would if spending less of that money.
Yeah, there's only so many pizza parties you can have.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to talk a bit about, because you mentioned it actually, you mentioned the DNA, and that stuck with me because I wanted to understand a bit more about Unit 81 and some of the DNA that brings out or kind of harnesses or fosters. What, for those who may not be familiar, because Unit 8200 is like the big name that everyone knows, and it's the one that all the founders and investors talk about. But Unit 81, at least for those not so involved in that ecosystem, is a bit less known.
Yes.
Globally. So talk to us a bit about that unit and some of the skills that you learned there to set the foundations for your journey.
So basically, Unit 81 is like, I would say, the deep tech unit of the intelligence corps. You can think of projects like James Bond and other different projects, which combine basically both hardware, software, and the entire stack of technology. And the ethos of the unit is basically anything is possible. Okay, and we build. I mean, I would say personally, I was raised on this ethos in 81, and really, I mean, we did some crazy projects.
Anything you can share?
Just look around in the past 2 years. Some of them are like similar projects that we did. Of course, I mean, that was I was in service 25 years ago, but the concepts are really similar. And at the end of the day, you build stuff that really are super impactful for our intelligence community, and things that you cannot do just with software because you need to put something physical somewhere, and the constraints can be huge because most of the time it's like a one-off system. You need to just put it somewhere, and it should work for anywhere between 5 to 25 years. Okay, so reliability is a key issue. Usually cost is not an issue, but the complexity of the systems is so high, and combine that with the reliability and basically the fact that I would say rarely you can use like off-the-shelf products. So we really need to understand things from the ground up. Okay, that takes into account software, that takes into account hardware, RF, whatever. You cannot use off-the-shelf products. So all of these puts you in a state where you have to understand the entire system. And once you do that and actually are able to see the cycle where you build a system that was like nobody imagined which is possible, and 2 to 5 years after, it actually generates an immense amount of intelligence. That's something. Once you see this cycle working, it's a life changer. Okay.
And then I guess that trickles into everything else, right? As we said, it goes into the civilian world, and then it goes into maybe other countries and other industries. And so it definitely seems like it forms an interesting type of founder to solve very specific problems, as we saw with SolarEdge. Is there anything that unit does that is not in the interest of the founder, move fast, break things? Like what are some of the tensions there, maybe? Is there anything that maybe isn't so?
I mean, in terms of the basic skills of founders, I think the basic skills are super relevant for a startup. Of course, the end use case is different. Sometimes the technology can be slightly different, but in many cases they're similar. I think it's a great school, but I think what's highly different is the outer aspects of that. I mean, you don't need to fundraise. You have funding. Okay.
Right.
You have really, not endless, but you have lots of resources, which is opposed to startups. Okay. You don't have to really sell. Okay. You have a different business unit that is actually doing the sales process internally. So all of these aspects are different things, which it's just not enough to just put together a system. But building a business is something more complicated than that, which are not the skill sets you get in these tech units. But this is fine. I mean, these are skills that you can get, either as you progress, or once again, many of our founders, I would say, that are just approaching us are not, are not first timer. Actually, all our companies that we invest in now are all second timers.
Is that an active choice that you did?
It was not. I mean, that was not necessarily it's not the mandate for us. But
Right.
but this is just what happened in our last investments. But usually the founders are slightly more mature, and some of them had like a second, even if it's like their first company, maybe they got out of the unit, and then they had like an initial role in the company. It's not mandatory, of course. I mean, you can just, of course, come out of one of the tech units. And once again, we also invest in teams which are not of the tech units as well. But so everything is really open. But I would say it's like a good basic skill set that you get, and of course a great network of people that you know. But that's only one way to succeed. That's not the only way to succeed.
But it also speaks to what you were saying about different founders bringing different skills.
Yeah.
So you could have a founder who wasn't so experienced in one aspect of building a company, but was super targeted or super specialized in one aspect.
Yeah.
And then you bring the other guy or person who can bring the other elements.
Exactly. Yeah. And once again, just as an example, I'm chairman of Kapao, which the entire team came out of Beersheva University. Okay, this is a completely different DNA, but specifically the guys over there and the CEO, Professor Moore Peretz, they are just something. I mean, they're just super unique in terms of their internal or basic talents they brought up due to their own life life pattern that they went through, and it works as well. I mean, there's no one magic solution for that. I mean, it's really tailor made, and this can work, and this can work as well. That's completely fine.
What are some of the main differences you noticed between companies that were born out of the military versus born out of the education ecosystem? If any,
I think really the main. I mean, there are two basic advantages, but they can come from different angles as well. I mean, it's the DNA and the network. You can gather that from other sources as well, but that's something. I mean, that's something that just you generate that as you progress. This is part of the process in these tech units. So it's just easier getting to both the network and the DNA. But you can also get that on there are lots of great corporates out there that you can get this knowledge and understand deep tech. Once again, I would say that the tech units gives you the basic level. You can build off of that a company, but you're still, I mean, there's so much I would say missing or a gap over that not just in terms of the market and fundraising, also turning a product in mass production. This is something that usually you don't do in the tech units. So this is a great basis, but above that, you really need to build the other layers that are missing.
Wow. And then there are, I suppose, companies coming from the university that may be more desert tech or ag tech or energy tech because of the location, or is that just
Well, it's not. I mean, it can be broad.
Yeah.
It can be broad. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Amir, we're approaching the end of our time and my points here that we have. So I wanted to close the conversation soon, shortly, with a quick fire round.
Sure.
So I have some questions here. I want you to not think about it.
Okay.
I want you just speak whatever comes to your mind first.
Yeah.
What's one trait you see in great founders earlier than what others miss?
They're willing to go all the way.
What's the biggest red flag at the ideation stage?
Coachability.
What's an infrastructure mistake that founders repeat most often?
Not looking at how complex it takes to really build a great company.
What's one question every founder should ask before raising their first check?
Am I ready for this ride?
And what's a lesson from Solar Edge you had to unlearn?
Oh, there's many. I cannot say one. There's so many.
Okay, so yeah. A broad technology or precise solution? Which one wins long term?
Precise solution.
Last question, Amir. What are the best ways for people to follow you, connect with you, and get in touch?
Just any way. You can just ping me on LinkedIn. You can go through our website, s1l.vc, whatever works for you.
Wonderful. Amir, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks.